Welcome to Haunt Topic Radio, the podcast for haunters by haunters. These are our scary visions.
So thanks everyone for coming. So this is the topic we're going to be talking about today, in human resources, avoiding real horror in your hiring and staffing practices. So Brian, this is me, or everyone, this is me. So I'm Dave Ferrier. I've been a scare actor for this will be year 18. Most of that time, I've also been an actor manager. This is the list of all of the haunts that I've worked at in those 18 years. So 6 different haunts. The current haunt I work at is Hallowspire. We're a brand new haunt. We opened for our first season last year in South Jersey. Like most of you, we are in actor and staff hiring season right now. It seems to, just like the holidays, it seems to get earlier every year. But yeah, June, July, August, that's when everyone seems to be hiring. So this topic should be really relevant to everyone, whether you're an actor, manager, owner, hiring person, that sort of thing. So besides haunting, I have been a professional actor as well. So I'm a member of SAG. So if you Google my name, my IMDb will come up and you'll see all of the films and TVs and commercials and other nonsense that I've done over the like 20 some years that I've been acting. So that's a brief. Oh, by the way, that character you see on the screen, that's my character that I play, Eli Crane. I've used him at a number of haunts. He's the one I use currently, and so I'm the caretaker. And all those pouches and everything makes it really handy as a manager because I carry all kinds of stuff, everything from hair ties to safety pins to flashlights to asthma inhalers, hand warmers, all that sort of stuff. In fact, I know on Hunter's Toolbox I put like a diagram of what I look like and what I carry a couple months ago. So
It's a
that
clever,
is me.
it's a clever idea. Yeah.
Thanks, I appreciate that. So there's me.
Justin, how about you?
Yeah, hey, I am Justin Blackburn, and I am the founder of Sithon, and we are all-in-one actor management solution. So it covers recruiting, scheduling, time tracking, everything that you need to keep track of your actors and just keep everything organized at your haunt. So I'm going to talk after Dave a little bit about some of the compliance tools that we have when you're getting ready to set up your recruitment form to recruit all of your new actors and staff. So I will turn it back over to David.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. All right, so I stopped sharing for a second, so you had the focus. So let me go ahead and start sharing one more time so you guys can see my presentation here.
I think Scarlet badges are one of the smartest things I've seen in the industry in a really long time. Scarlet badges are basically either pins or embroidered patches, kind of like merit badges, as they are, somewhat named after, from Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and Brownies, and where after you've accomplished something, you can wear the brag tag of the embroidered patch. Some haunts put them on jackets, some put them on t-shirts, some put them on, with the pins, I've seen them put them on lanyards. But the neat thing about them is they are very specific in what they are rewarding. And they're haunt-based images that reflect what's being rewarded. It's retention, it is bringing people back, and it's actually giving your haunters, your haunt performers, the ability to share that they are haunt performers. And, oh really, you're a scare actor. Where do you do that? And then they will insert the name of your haunt right there. So it's also marketing. I've always been a big fan of Scarlet badges. I think they're great. So check them out, scarletbadges.com. No, that is not a paid advertisement. That is just my recommendation. I think it's really cool.
ScottSwinson.com.
And there we go. So in addition to all the other stuff I do, I also created about 2 years ago fearschool.com. And so what I do is your haunt hires me and I travel around the country and I train your actors, but also your managers. I think too often managers get forgotten about. So I do half a day with the managers, and the next day those managers come to the actor training and run through the actor training with me as well. Some of the other things I do, I can help you with auditions. I have a particular technique that I use when I run auditions. Because my regular job, I'm in human resources. That's kind of where I came up with this idea, this presentation. But I can help you review your haunt's policies and procedures and handbooks and that sort of thing. And then recently, I've been putting a lot of free videos. There's my YouTube channel. If you just go to YouTube and actually type in Fear School and then dot and then com, uh, it'll come up. It just has my F for the logo right now. So that's, Fear School. That's what I do on the side as well. All right. And then I really try to publish this like everywhere possible. So if you're a member of Haunter Toolbox or any other haunt Facebook group, I've even put it in Discord. I've put it on some other sites now. I'm running uh, probably what I think is the first ever haunted attraction industry safety survey. Uh, I'm a big data guy, so one of the things, if you asked probably anyone in the industry, hey, how many times are actors injured per year? We would have crickets. We don't have that data. Or does it matter if your haunt serves alcohol? Does it lead to more incidents or not? No one knows because no one's ever collected this data. So that's one of the things I launched right before Midwest Haunters, which I just went and presented at. So it's running for a month. It'll run to July 5th. It's for everyone. If you're an actor, a manager, owner, a makeup artist, security, front of house, back of house, queue line, slider, whatever you are at a haunt, I would love for you to take the survey. I'm going to share the results with everyone. So every place I've posted the survey is where I'm going to post actionable results. It's 100% anonymous. I do not ask for your name, your email, your haunt name. I don't care. It doesn't matter. This is not about pointing anyone out. There's the QR code there. The link probably isn't clickable. So I know if you look in Haunter's Toolbox in the last like 2, 3 weeks, you will see the link to the survey. So I would really appreciate it if you guys took it, shared it with your fellow actors or anyone at your haunt. That'd be great. I'm right at 160 responses, which I'm very pleased at right now. I'm hoping before the end of the survey, if I can get to 300, I'd be really happy with that. One of the questions I had, and this is where I want this session to be interactive. So I'm going to be talking about some HR topics today, but I have ideas for more HR topics. We're not going to talk about these today, but I wanted to get the audience's input on something like this. So if you're interested in another human resources type webinar, put a Y or a yes or heck yes or in the comments. And these are the sort of topics the next webinar would potentially cover. So everything from employee versus independent contractor versus volunteer, seasonal exemptions, unemployment insurance, wages, workers' comp, having minors at your haunt, and then all the other sort of agreements that we come up with sometimes and have our folks sign. So that would be the next topic. So if there's any interest in that at a future webinar, please type a yes. And I've already got the content. I would probably host this if Brian is agreeable to on Haunter's Toolbox and do it again sometime in the future. So if you're interested, please put a yes, and I would love to present that to you guys. And by the way, I'm keeping an eye on the comments as well. So I'm seeing a couple yeses already. So that is fantastic. But for my hosts, if you see a comment or a question, please just, as we talked about before, just flag me down or interrupt me and say, "Hey, Dave, we got a really interesting question or comment," and then I'll pause and we can address that. So let's talk briefly about what our human resources problem at haunts is. And that's because we are haunters. We are scare actors. We are owners. We are managers. We're not HR usually by default. And I'm not going to read all these on the screen, but these are the things that we love to do. These are the things we got into this industry to do. In addition to, scaring guests, we want to buy new tech. We want to go to trade shows. We want to be successful and expand the business, do new themes and scares and costumes. This is the fun stuff that we love to do. However, there is a lot of paperwork that go, and if any of you have been in the industry more than a day, especially if you're in a leadership role, you are very familiar with the paperwork. And not only the paperwork, but we don't often think about this stuff as HR, but all of the things you see on the screen are what happens at a regular job. you get promoted, you get disciplined, you get fired, you get trained, coached, interviewed, hired. There's paperwork, there's payroll potentially, handbooks, parental consent forms. There's all of these other human resource things that any business has to do. They're not the fun things, but they're absolutely essential to making sure the business runs. And the challenge with haunts, and I've seen this, and you can see this especially in our websites, is we typically do things the way we experienced them when we were brand new to the haunt industry. We copy and paste, whether it's the website, the handbook. I have a great collection of handbooks from haunts around the country, and I can, other than the haunt name, people have literally copied and pasted the same handbook from one haunt on different sides of the country to the other. Um, it doesn't mean it's the best way of doing things. Uh, look at, you probably pick 10 haunt websites. I guarantee you 9 of them have a gallery link. Why is that? Because every other haunt had one when we started, and we thought that was the way to do it. So this is one of the challenges is we borrow for, or this is the way we were raised, and so this is how we do human resources and training and auditions. But that doesn't mean it should be done that way anymore. And again, today's focus is on job applications because we're right in the middle of doing that.
Do you know what causes haunted attractions to shut down before they even get started? The top 3 roadblocks are lack of funding, lack of leadership, lack of resources. As a member of the Haunters Toolbox, you get instant access to the tools you need to start and grow your own haunted attraction business. To get started, become a member at haunterstoolbox.com.
Here's my here's my agenda. We're going to build a job application and talk about what we can and can't ask. If we get to it, some of these other topics here, we'll talk about background checks. We'll talk about medical questions, job descriptions. I would challenge any of you who work in a haunt to find your scare actor job description. I'm guessing in probably 90% of cases, you don't have one. And we really should, because there's a lot of benefits to having that. For makeup artists, for parking, for queue line, whatever role is at your haunt, honestly, they all should have a job description. We'll talk about parental consent forms, consent to work, and consent to treat for medical. And again, if we get to it, we'll talk about media release forms. So I'm going to pause for just 1 second. I don't think there's any comments or questions, but Daryl and Brian, I'll look to you. Is there anything I haven't gotten to that's been posted in the chat?
Not yet, but we're keeping our folks. One of the things I'm going to ask, though, is bring up that survey one at the end, because there's been more people that have shown up since we've had that link up on the screen. So,
Okay, excellent. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, do you recommend each haunt have an HR person that kind of handles everything, or?
That is a great question. And it would really, having an HR person would have consistency. Because, then you've got that person is managing the handbook and the W-2 and W-4 forms and the medical and the medical forms and the parental consent forms and making sure, and they probably have them all, on a Google Drive. I mean, that's where we store our things. So that's a great question. Yes, I would recommend someone be designated as the HR person. Unless you are a really large haunt, you probably don't have someone who's HR. It's probably your owner, and maybe that owner has delegated a manager to do the sort of paperwork, or the owner handles it himself or herself. But yes, that would be, we talk about looking for opportunities when we're working at haunts. We start as scare actors for the most part. Volunteering to say, hey, you know what? I'd like to take on those HR things. I think that would be a great
Excellent
way to
suggestion.
advance. Yeah.
I always look for people like that have been in social services or nursing, people that are kind of more person orientated. Usually my hot moms kind of transverse over to those roles because they know everything about everybody, and they're which we kind of throw, sit down a guide. Say, okay, this is what we like for you to do. And if do you think you can handle this? Is this like, yes, I'll keep every track of everything. And so find someone that actually likes to do that stuff and
Correct. Yeah, it's
just set them.
it's not sexy.
No.
It's totally not. But it's a lot of work, but it's so important. Because the it's gonna be when you don't have something that's where you're gonna be like, man, why didn't we have the mom sign the parental consent form for that kid who got hurt? And
Mhm.
now you're going to be like, oh, or we can't find it. You know what I mean? Like it's those sort of things that you're going to be that you regret when you need the most. So I totally agree
Yeah.
with doing something like that. If you remember nothing else from my presentation, staying legal, most and especially when we're talking about job applications and hiring, most often depends when you ask a certain question. You could ask a particular question on the job application and be totally illegal, but ask that exact same question after you've hired someone and be totally fine. So it is HR and hiring, it is a very complicated thing. And again, I'm going to go over all these things, and Justin's tool and Sithon will also be a huge help to knowing when you could ask a particular question. Asking legal questions set your haunt up for fines and lawsuits. Uh, if you have minors at your haunt, you absolutely need two things: parental consent to work and consent for medical treatment. Sometimes we blend them into the same form. That's fine, as long as both uh, elements are on there. You really need something like that if you have minors in any capacity at your haunt, and so many haunts do. The other thing is, check your state and local laws because it varies from state to state. What is fine here in New Jersey might not be fine in Pennsylvania. So you really need someone who's willing to do the research, especially when it comes to asking questions about criminal history or drug or background. That question, more than anything, completely varies from state to state. And I know I'm going to get some pushback on this, but if you have documents, whether it's your existing handbook, your waivers, your application, your consent forms, your contracts, put it in your favorite AI tool and say, I work at a haunt in this state. Tell me what's wrong with this document. And it will come back and spit out exactly what is right, what is wrong, what is dangerous. I do this all the time. It's a huge time saver. Or you can do it the old-fashioned way. Totally up to you. I'm a big fan of doing something like this. It will save you time. And whether it's a haunt mom or someone else who's going to take over that HR role, uh, this is going to save them a lot of time.
So that's to check it out, not write it for you, correct?
Yes, correct. Yes.
That's an
I would,
important difference.
yes, I would write it myself first. And I know Haunted Attraction Association, if you remember, has like some templates for things like that you can download. So you do have some sort of a starting point. Like if you have nothing, um, that would be a great place to start. But no, I would not tell your favorite AI tool, "Hey, write me a haunt handbook." No, that is not the way
Okay.
to go. So
Now,
no.
Brad has another question that I think you will probably be getting into, but just keep this in the back of the mind. Brad is asking, do you recommend a checklist of required documentation to be filled out for events and auditions? Like two forms
Yes.
of ID, I-9, so forth. So I know you're going to touch on that, but let's just keep that in the mind that Brad, we're going to be answering your question coming up.
Yep. Yeah. Excellent question. And yes, we'll make sure we cover that too. All right. So, the crux of what we're talking about, job applications. And I have looked at so many haunt job applications, and I actually made a spreadsheet a little over a year ago. I think I went to the Scare Factor, and I literally went state by state, and I clicked on every single haunt that I could, of which there's probably, at least on that website, more than 2,000. And I found every job application that I could, and I made a little note. This is wrong on this one. This is wrong on this one. This is illegal on this one. So I have seen some shocking questions that haunts are asking, and we'll get to those. Does anyone have a guess? And you can put this in the chat. How are haunts asking applicants to submit their info? What method are they using? And there's a bunch of them. Someone better put Sithon, in the chat.
That's the proper way to do it.
Isn't it? But again,
I would say just come and fill an application by hand.
yes, that is one. Yeah, piece of paper. Oh,
Online on Google Forms.
Google Docs, Google Forms. Yes, that is absolutely one too. I'm going to go ahead and just bring them up here. And these are, when I created this is pretty much in order of most used to least. So Google Docs and Sithon are right at the top there as far as what most haunts seem to be using for their job application form. And then you can see the other ones there all the way down to, yep, and thank you for putting that. Yeah, Google Forms. So that's how people are asking. All right, I know if you're on mobile, this might be really hard to see, but I want you to try and tell me on this first page. This is a real haunts job application. I blacked out what haunt it was. Anything, if assuming you can see the text, anything you notice that's incorrect or illegal to ask on this first page here.
Can they ask if you're allergic to anything?
That is one thing. No is the answer, and we'll get to specifically why. Anything else you see? There's at least two other things.
Age?
Correct. Can't ask that. Someone put,
And
have you worked at? No, that's not. I wouldn't put it on the application, but it's not an illegal question.
and acting roles can be physically demanding. Do you feel comfortable?
Correct. That is so vague right there. That's another question you cannot ask. So yeah, so the age question right there, the way they're asking it is inappropriate. The physical demanding, you guys caught that, and then the allergic to makeup. Again, asking this on the job application, again, it's the when that can really trip your haunt up. All right, what about this page? This is the second page of this same haunts application. Anything that's concerning on this?
Can they ask the size of what you wear? Is
Nope.
that okay?
It seems so innocent. What t-shirt size do you wear? Cannot ask that on the job application. There's something else really near that as well. It's right
Oh
above
yeah,
it.
for costumes to fit, please be as honest as possible about your measurements.
And I know this comes from like theater applications. They're trying to fit, but you cannot ask this on the job application. Can't ask height, weight, measurements, dress size, t-shirt size, anything like that.
Do different rules apply for volunteers versus employees, or is this across the board?
No, that's a great question. No, it does not matter if they are volunteer or employee. These are questions you cannot ask because, and I'll show you why in a second here. But the questions at the top there, these are not
Yeah.
illegal, but they don't they're not necessary to ask right on the job application. Are you willing to wear a mask? Are you willing to wear a facial appliance? The height, weight, t-shirt size, get that off the job application right away. So yeah, those are the things that are wrong there. All right. So now we're going to get more specific about questions on your Holland's job application. And I really want you guys to pay attention to the list on this next page. You cannot ask any of these questions on your job application. I'll read through some of them. Date of birth. What is your date of birth or what is your age? I know what you guys are trying to ask. You're trying to determine if they're 18 or older. Ask that. Are you 18 or older? Yes or no. If the answer is no, then you verify their age when they come to audition. And then if I guess you'll need a parental consent form. And obviously if it's yes, question answered. Gender, pronouns, race. By the way, the reason all of these are on this thing is because I have examples of haunts asking these questions on job applications. What is your COVID vaccination status? Email us your social security number. Upload a picture of your driver's license. Do you have health insurance? So all of these questions, I'm not going to continue to read them all. Oh, by the way, don't ask for a picture either. Does anyone have anyone in the host or anyone, why should I not ask them to upload a headshot or a picture? Why is that an issue?
That's just a privacy concern, or is that
You're getting close. It's not a privacy thing.
they can they can be judged by what they look like or
What does a picture reveal?
who you are, your face?
Approximate age,
Yep.
gender, race. Three things that we can't ask, but yet that picture reveals three of those elements right there. So there is no need. Show me a McDonald's or Home Depot job application that asks anyone to upload a picture. You won't find it.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we do this in haunts? I know it's because we want to keep track of people, especially if we're doing a few hundred auditions. Can't do it. Don't ask it in the job application.
So some of these you can ask later, but some of them you probably can't ask later. You're going to go into that.
Correct. Yes. Yes. I will go into ones that, again, the when really
Okay.
matters there. I think someone mentioned, so pronouns. You could ask it as an optional question. You can't, if you mandate it, now you're in the wrong. But if you make it as an optional, what are your preferred pronouns? It's okay. Again, I would check with your state laws because some of these things vary by state. But that's on this list. That's probably one of the only ones that might be okay, depending on your state. So I've got some asterisks on this here. So the have you been convicted of a felony? And then I love the if yes, explain. Um, that is most likely illegal, but again, check with your state. It is highly discouraged to ask something like that on the job application.
This podcast episode sponsored by Scarlet Badges.
We always were looking for ideas to get those actors to take it to the next level. I really want to do something that they can use more than just a meal, or they can use more than just a that a boy, that a girl. They love this stuff, but it's not really promoting a haunter. And then I sit down, Scarlet Badges comes out. That's when I realized this is amazing, because not only is it giving them an attaboy, but it's also promoting them all year round. And to promote somebody, to give somebody accolades all year round and have them be able to wear it on their shoulder with pride means a lot. This right here says this is who nailed it on this day in this year for the rest of their life, for the rest of their haunting life. And that's what I really love about this product is you're able to give haunting to somebody an attaboy 365 days a year. And that's, so hats off to you guys. I think this is a great product and I wish you the best of luck because it's awesome.
Get your Scare Badges at scarebadges.com.
The medical conditions, disabilities, and allergies, you can't ask that on the job application. You cannot ask that in the interview. And then willing to be subject to a background check that usually comes after the job offer is made. So here's why some of these questions are so forbidden. And I'm just going to bring up all of and most of these are federal and state laws that you would be potentially violating. So you ask for date of birth, you're violating the law you see on the right. Gender, you're violating Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. Height and weight, equal employment opportunity laws. Picture yourself, I already talked about that. So just think about, this is only a handful of questions. Look at all the laws you could potentially be violating. Just thinking this is just an innocent job application. I mentioned before, I went through an analysis of thousands of haunt websites, and this is the stats that I came up with. 16% of haunts are asking for age and date of birth. There are approximately over 2,000 haunts in the US. That was my best guess. There actually is no hard and fast count, but it just goes to show you that a significant portion of haunts are asking problematic questions. And that's why I wanted to create this session here today, to alert everyone to say, wait, we need to change the questions we're asking in our application. And then when Justin talks, he's going to show you guys a solution for that. Now, this is some of the eye-opening questions that I have found that some haunts are actually asking on their application. I mentioned before, email us your social security number. Tell us all medications you're taking. What? Um, if you agree to some medical treatments, tell us any treatment you don't consent to.
Hmm.
Um, must provide working flashlight. Must work a minimum of so many hours or days to be paid. Must provide your own costume. Provide your own insurance. Are you currently working for another haunt? Um, these questions just blew me out of date last tetanus shot. I mean, again, I think in most cases, haunts are asking this because they're concerned about their people. They want to make sure they're healthy and taken care of. We can't be asking these things. You are just waiting uh, for someone to take your job application to an employment attorney. So please, if you recognize some of these questions from your job application, get to work tonight after
Yeah.
today's session.
The date of the last tetanus shot, that's on the fear of the rusty nail haunt, isn't it?
Hmm.
I'm sure. Yeah, screws sticking out of a wall panel. Again,
Yeah.
I get the logic of asking things like that, but it's because we're not human resources that we end up asking questions that are just forbidden. All right, so this is Brian, you mentioned something before. When can we ask some of these questions? And so here's the questions. I would not put these on the job application. They're okay to ask. But remember, the job application is just let's get their basic information, then let's get them to the audition, then let's interview them, and then let's hire them. So everything from emergency contacts, their conflicts, why do you want to work here, reliable transportation, favorite horror movie, why would you be a good fit? I've seen all of these on job applications. I know why we do it. We jam all this into a job application because we think we will never get these questions answered from them later on. So let's ask them all up front now. I disagree with that logic. Get, like I said, outline it a different way. Get the basics, then get them in, and you can ask them these questions, whether it's a separate application or just in person, these sort of thing. The whole background check and drug screening. Again, this you really need to check your state laws. Some permit this um, on certain paperwork, and others do not. So the other thing too is you need to get written consent. It can't be on the job application. That doesn't count as written consent. It has to be its own piece of paper. I consent to a background check. I consent to drug screening. Um, don't quote me on the legal phrasing of that. I'm just giving you an example there. The allergy thing, and again, I know I'm harping on this, but I see it in every single Haunt's job application. You can't ask that on the application. You cannot ask that in the interview. You can ask it a very certain way only after you have made the job offer to that person and they've said yes. And I'm going to show you on the next slide what that looks like. Here's how to ask. First of all, you should have a job description. And in your job description for a scare actor, it should say almost this verbatim. This role may involve theatrical makeup, exposure to latex, silicone, fog, strobes, flashing lights, close contact with gas, strong scents, fake blood, and costume materials. And then, after you've decided to hire them, you point to that job description that you have sitting on the desk and you say, are you able to work under these conditions with or without reasonable accommodation? And hopefully the answer is yes. And once they answer yes, then that's when you can have the discussion about, are you allergic to any of these things? That is the only way to ask. That's it. So I hope I know I've harped on this a lot, but that is, um, like I said, I know our heart's in the right place asking about allergies, but it has to be asked a very certain way.
Where do you see most people introducing that? Is it in the interview process?
No, they ask it on the job application.
So where you're saying they should wait until they interview in the interview process, like have it's
No, after you've interviewed them and you've said we're hiring you.
hiring you.
Now you can ask what
Okay.
I put, and I'll put it back up here. Now you can do it.
Okay. So that's
That's
like
it.
you're getting ready to
Mhm.
hire them. Here's another intake sheet or whatever intake here. This is our own little form. So best to have like your drug and um, background check information, like a list of all the stuff that you didn't want to ask on the interview or
Correct.
and then have it all in this one sheet, make it a one sheeter or something. Fill this out, look it over.
Yes, yeah, it
Okay.
has to be separate.
Okay.
And I know it means more paperwork and forms and that sort of thing, but this is the genuinely correct way to do these sort of things. You can't just shoehorn it into the job application and think, oh, no one's going to notice. I noticed.
A lot of people are doing it wrong. So
Yeah. All right. I talked about a lot about what shouldn't be. Here's what should be, and it's so minimal. You first of all, job description, and I'll talk about job descriptions in a little bit here. So this stuff is you're going to be like, Dave, that's it. Um, this is it. First, last name, 18 or older, email, cell, address. You could ask conflict dates here. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Previous haunt or work experience, sure. Do you really care? Like if they worked at McDonald's, yeah, who cares? You know, and then if they have an acting resume, sure. Most haunts don't even bother asking something like that. So in other words, the first six things, very simple. That's it. That's your job application. Done. All those other crazy questions that you have seen in the previous slides, those belong elsewhere, either during the interview or after the interview and you've hired them. This is it. This is all that should be on your job application.
so basically you're just it's kind of like the ticket to get in almost.
Hmm.
This is your we just need the basic info to get you in the door. So we have contact, we can contact you. And these are going to be our dates. Come show up to this, and then you start filtering people out through the training process. And
Correct. Yeah.
okay, all
Yeah.
right.
And then really it's are they 18 or not? And the answer to that question then dictates, okay, they're not, but they're 14 to 17. Here's the parental consent stuff that they got to take home to mom and dad or their guardian, so that's out of the questions here. That's this one, right? The number two is really the only one that drives an additional piece of paper or papers. But yes, you're exactly right, Brian. This is literally it should be very simple. But we have over the years really complicated it and asked everything, including the kitchen sink there. I'm
Mhm.
going to pause for a second because I think there's probably some questions in the comments. And so, Daryl, if you want to tell me what some of them are, we can talk about them.
Nicholas has asked, do you ask that question in writing or verbally or both? And I'm assuming that was the allergy one.
So this one right here,
Yeah.
verbal. Oh, shoot, let me go back. So here's what you do. Here's what I would recommend. First of all, you need to have a job description, and I'm going to show this coming up very soon here. Here's what being a scare actor involves: standing for this many hours, exposure to all the things that you see in yellow in the first paragraph here. You have that, and you're literally like sitting across from them. Here's the job description. Do you see this paragraph right here? This role may involve theatrical makeup. Are you able to work under these conditions with or reasonable accommodation? Yes or no? Yes? Great. No? Well, then, tell me what the issue is, sort of thing. So you will have it, yes, print it out, but you can verbally ask the question that you see in the second section there. That's the only time. And how you ask the question. You notice it doesn't say, are you allergic to anything? No. You have to, and again, I know this stuff seems like minutia and a pain, but from a legal perspective, this is really the right way to ask these sort of things. And again, whether you like it or not, asking your favorite AI tool, how do I ask a potential someone I want to hire at my haunt about their allergies? And I can almost guarantee what you see on the screen here is exactly what it's going to spit out to you. And what state do you live in? That's always a key there. So that's a great question.
When it
And
comes to parental forms, um, is that just something like a one sheeter or like just little take
yeah, I
this
mean,
home to your parents and have them look it over? What's included in that? Just kind of job description, some of the stuff they're going through, what they'll be doing,
job description,
hours.
job description, hours. So this is this now remember, there's two different parental consent forms. In fact, let me do this.
Unless you're getting into that, then
I will, but that's okay. Let me. I don't mind jumping around. There's two different ones. Now, you don't have to make them two separate forms, but there's two different elements: consent to work and consent for medical treatment. You've got to have both elements. Now, you can make them the same form, but yes, if you have anyone 14 to 17 working at your haunt or volunteering at your haunt or whatever you want to call it, these are the things, and I'm going to bring them up here on the screen so you can see, acknowledgement of the job in the work environment. You're working outside in the cold, in the rain, um, whatever it is, describe that environment on that form for the parent to sign. The parent should never be surprised. Well, what do you mean my child was, operating a chainsaw? If I wouldn't give a minor a chainsaw, but you know what I mean. Um, and here's the consequences of not having something like that, especially if you're at a for-profit haunt. This employment can be illegal. You can get child labor violations. Are States do not mess around with stuff like that. Um, yeah, you will get fined heavily. It's like even more than any other sort of violation. And the parent can say, "Well, I never authorized them to do this sort of thing." So again, there's consent to work, and then there's consent to treat. So we hope nothing ever happens to any of our actors, but especially our minors. Minors cannot consent to medical treatment on their own. This is not an optional thing. If you have minors in your haunt, you need this paperwork. You need consent to work and consent to treat. Again, look to some of your fellow, haunts. We should be collaborating together. So if you don't have a forum like this and you're like, oh my gosh, Dave, where do I start? You can reach out to me. You can probably reach out to anyone else on today's session, for a starting point and say, hey, here's what we use. Here's what our parents sign. And then again, check with your state laws, tailor it to your haunt, and make sure, because as I was doing the research on this, the last thing you want to have happen is some guy in an ambulance saying, you know what, I can bandage the leg, but I can't do anything else because I don't see a consent to treat form here. And that's a real possibility. And that's the last thing we want, is some medical person saying, where's mom and dad's signature? And you're like, I don't have it, or I can't find it.
So, and legally, are we allowed to, like, say we have a minor, are we allowed to put a Band-Aid on, give an aspirin to? I mean, is this like,
Have you checked out HauntersToolbox.com yet? It's free to join and full of useful information to help you start and grow your own haunted attraction business. All the information on HauntersToolbox.com is created by the pros who do it. We have a library with ebooks and presentations on topics like creating an employee handbook, starting a business plan, or the best types of lights to use at your haunt, plus a lot more. You get instant access to the library plus free video masterclasses by the experts in the haunt industry. Classes like Alan Hops from Dark Hour Haunted House teaching scare acting, or Philip Hernandez from the Haunted Attraction Network teaching marketing and social media, or Leonard Pickle from Hauntpreneurs teaching haunt design and construction. I even got a few master classes in there as well. You don't have to do it alone. Let us help you. We also host monthly live master classes to steer you in the right direction so you don't get lost. Once you become a member, you also get instant updates on our next masterclass in your email so you don't miss the next one. And if you need more one-on-one help, there is an option for that as well. I would be honored to help you get your attraction started or help you grow your current one. I know what it takes. Let's talk. If you're interested, you want to start and grow your haunted attraction, go check out HauntersToolbox.com. Don't be scared.
where
So,
you can't?
so and again, I am not a lawyer, okay? But in my understanding, um, the way that document is phrased, again, you first want to always try to contact mom and dad. That's the first thing you should always do. And you should have that emergency contact list really handy. And I know with Sithon, it would be really handy to, bring it up on your phone or tablet right there. This is only if you cannot reach mom or dad or the guardian. Then there's a piece of paper that says we can take them to the hospital, we can bandage their leg, we can perform, the steps that we need to, sort of thing. This is only when you can't reach mom or dad. Because what'll most likely happen is hopefully you'll call mom and be like, hey, Becky cut her arm, the ambulance is here, do you want to meet them at the hospital? Oh yes, let's go, sort of thing. This is only if you can't get a hold of the parents. So I hope that answers the
Yeah.
question there. Okay, cool. Let me jump back to, I'm going to jump to, let's talk about medical questions again really quick here. And I know I'm harping on this. Please, these are the questions you can't ask. You can't ask, do you have a medical condition or disability? I've seen applications that ask this. Will you undergo an exam? Will you answer medical questions? No, you can't do this sort of thing. The way I showed you guys earlier, that's the only way to do it. Here's something that I've seen too. Can I require medical documentation? And most of the time, this comes into play when we're talking about the actor does or does not want to wear a mask or makeup. And we think, well, I'm going to force them to get a doctor's note and basically say, Sam can't wear a mask because of his asthma or something like that. So in most cases, you cannot require medical documentation for that sort of thing. Volunteers, you can't ask for medical information whatsoever.
So that means you just have to either work with or put them in something else, a different role, or
Yeah,
get rid
so
of them.
so here's the scenario. So there's really two things that I prefer makeup. I don't want to wear the mask. In other words, it's my preference. You can't ask them for a doctor's note. Now, if they say, I can't wear this mask because I have asthma, that's when you can say, well, again, if you really wanted to go down this road, that's when you could say, well, I really need you to wear this mask. You're the only one who fits the costume in the area. So can you get me a doctor's note that says you're not, you have asthma and wearing a mask would really affect you? Would I actually go down that road? No. I would accommodate the actor and I'd be like, look, you don't want to wear a mask. It says it really bothers you. Okay, fine. We'll do makeup instead. I wouldn't ask them for a doctor's note. But if you wanted to go down that road, that's the only circumstance when you can ask for something like that. Yeah, when they're essentially requesting an accommodation, and you need minimal documentation for something like
You
that.
probably can't let them go because of a medical. I mean, you find out they have a medical issue and you want to get rid of them. You can't really get rid of them because of the medical issue. So you have to
No,
accommodate, right?
no, that's when you're talking about that reasonable accommodation there,
Mhm.
and that's when you have that discussion during after you've made the job offer. Um, I'm gonna jump to job descriptions because I really want to get Justin on the stage here to talking about the solution to so many of these things that I'm bringing up here. Um, I have seen hardly any job descriptions for haunts. I'm curious, and I'll put my hosts on the spot here. Does your haunt have job descriptions for your scare actors? No,
No,
Not
no.
really,
Daryl.
but our posting this season came out with uh, some stuff. I will try and find the details, but if you're on Facebook or Instagram, if you search for Deadmonton House, you can see the actors posting, and we've also got some because we're just in the pre-hiring at the moment. We're just advertising about our audition dates.
Yep,
So.
totally understand. And that's 99% haunts. That's what we do is we say hiring scare actors, here's the date and time of audition. Maybe we'll put some description about like, no experience necessary and the minimum age and like the things you see here, have to be, there's a lot of physical stamina, must be able to lift 35 pounds but we don't formalize this into a job description. I am really an advocate. Make a job description. I'm going to give you everything you need to put on that job description right now. This is extremely detailed. Do you absolutely need everything? No. But when you do have those reasonable accommodation discussions or allergy discussions, having this job description, this is when you can point to, see the paragraph right here. Are you able to do these things with or without accommodation? Then the other thing is have the actor sign this job description as part of their paperwork. Then there's no misunderstanding. Well, I didn't know I had to work in the rain. It says right in the job description you signed, you might have to work in the rain. So this can really save you for those sort of discussions there. I jokingly, said, here's a real scare actor job description. Must be prepared to be tired, hungry, cold, hot, wet, and sore. Maybe you get some pizza every so often. Must enjoy wearing unwashed costumes and being insulted or hit by guests, and be prepared for loss of voice and dignity. Now, obviously, I'm just doing this very tongue in cheek. It's not that far off. For those of us who've
Keeping
done
it
this,
real.
I
Keeping it
know
real.
this is pretty real.
Mhm.
But you're going to scare everyone away if you put this for your job description.
Yeah.
This is what you should really have. And again, I made this extremely detailed. You do not necessarily have to have all of these things under job description, but this is probably the most comprehensive. If you handed me a job description as a scare actor for this, I should have no questions. This would tell me literally every absolutely thing I need to know about this job. Again, few haunts have it. There's no mandate that says you have to have a job description, state or federal. Put this description online. So write in with your link to your audition form. Put the job description there too, not just hide it in the handbook. The benefits, it's going to help you find the right people for the job. It's going to help with that interview process. You're going to list those minimum qualifications. This is where you can put must be willing to do drug and background check. You can put that in the job description, not the application, the job description. And then again, have them sign it. I hope you guys can read this. I tried to make it large, but this is I've had to chop it up into a couple slides here just to make the text large enough. Here's an example job description. This is all these 13 elements that I showed on the previous slides there. The title, the location, the chain of command, who do they report to? What type of employee or volunteer are they? Compensation, how much is that? How long are they going to be here? What's the schedule? What's a summary of the job? And so there you can see, what the job is all about. Here's all the requirements. And this is where you can put things like, must be able to stand for 8 hours, negative drug test, pass a background check, must be able to carry, so much weight sort of thing. So again, this is another example where you would really want to tailor this to what's relevant to your scare actors. What the responsibilities are, for example, taking direction from management, memorizing dialogue potentially, depending on how your haunt operates, maintaining a safe environment, all of these things that you want to put in the responsibilities there. And then last, you can put, is there any education or skill? Most of the time it's, this might be their first job ever in many cases there. So they probably don't have anything to bring. You reemphasize that environment, varying weather conditions, and then also like the exposure to latex, fog, strobe lights, sound effects, loud music, darkness. The more clear you can make this, the better. And then benefits. Here's the things that, in addition to if you pay them, here's the things that you might get as a scare actor. We do training, we do awards, discounts on merch, sort of thing. So, like I said, you don't need everything on here, but I wanted to come up with this is the most complete job description possible. And again, when you have those accommodation discussions, you literally point, write what I have highlighted in red. Are you able to do these things with or without accommodation? Yes? Okay, great. We talked about all those forms already. So I just want to make sure I've answered the questions so far before I turn it over to Justin and he can show you the solution that Scython has for so many of these HR things.
Yeah, there's just been a little bit of a discussion. There's a couple of my fellow Canadians that are in the chat, and laws up here are different in some ways, but the same in others. So the discussion we were just having is in regards to the minors and the parental consent. One of the questions that Brad has, though, is how do you validate that the parents filled out the paperwork and not the underage staff?
I mean, I totally understand that being a concern. If if you genuinely think that's going to be a risk, maybe it's one particular applicant. You're like, I don't know. This kid seems like he's the one who's going to forge mom's signature. I would ask for mom's phone number. I mean, you're going to have to get that anyway for the
Hmm.
emergency contact information, and tell him, I'm going to call mom and dad and make sure they got it and filled it out. Now, you could probably word it a certain way, like, after you take this to mom, I'd like to hear from her. Here's my phone number,
Okay.
or I'm going to be following up with mom to make sure to see if she has any questions about the form. And right there, it's going to be like, I guess I better really have her sign it. You know,
Yeah.
um, I've had parents come to auditions, so right then and there, honestly, I don't have a problem with that. They're entrusting me with their child. I have no problem with mom or dad watching what's going to happen there, or actor training. I've had parents come to that too. So that's another way you
We've
could
had parents come
literally,
on in. Yeah, come on
yeah,
in.
right.
They want to roll too.
I've had parents when we've been really shorthanded volunteer and come and act guest haunt for a night,
Uh,
and their child works there. So
Yeah.
yes, th- get so there's a couple of ways to do that. I've barely researched Canadian law. I actually have a potential
Can understand
customer.
why.
No, it's because I'm in the US. But from what I understand, that most of what I've presented here is very similar as far as what can and can't be asked and when. And I think, especially when it comes to minors, I think Canadian law is even more strict in some cases.
I believe so. The one question that we had was, or somebody had, was about the medical. Because our medical systems are different up here, and there's no insurance and some of that sort of stuff, or that no extra insurance that has to be paid and co-pays and stuff. Uh, some of that may be different, but
Yes.
I had mentioned that I was in the hospital last week, and while waiting in ER, there was a minor that was in ER accompanied by paramedics and no parent. And there was some things I couldn't hear the whole conversation. My ears weren't that long. I couldn't hear the whole conversation, so I don't know what they couldn't do, but there were something that they were refusing to uh, do discussing amongst each other because she was a minor. So,
And the parent wasn't there and they didn't have some sort of signed consent form, right? I mean,
correct
so
at that
yeah.
time.
So that's an exact example of that's the worst case scenario. It's like, oh, you know what? We have no authorization, whatever that procedure is that they can't do without mom and dad or some sort of, yeah, that's the
A
worst
guardian, yeah.
case where it's like, sorry, we can't, for example, one of the things when I was doing the research for, like, they could stabilize the child, but like they can't give them like pain medication.
Mhm.
That would be one example of where they might not the doctor would literally say, I'm sorry, I can't give the kid morphine to take away
Yeah.
the pain from the broken leg without this consent to treat form. And now the
Yeah,
kid is
exactly.
literally laying there screaming in pain because you don't have that. So that's a concrete example of where doctors and how would legally refuse to, even though they
Hmm.
know I'm sure they want to help the kid. Um,
Yep. Yeah, completely understandable. So we've just eliminated any minors from showing or from being employed at our haunt. That's how we get around it.
that's an option too. Yeah. I mean,
And I did find quickly found the posting on our Facebook for our actors. And the third slide is skills, the ability to act independently or collaboratively in a group scene, maintain an assigned character in all environments and scenarios, good improv ability, ability to growl, yell, shout, jump, crouch for extended periods of time, and repeating those set abilities for hours on end. Wow, that sounds like fun. And the ability
Hmm.
to do all of the above in costumes, masks, etc. So it doesn't give that complete detailed list,
It's not
uh,
bad though. It's
but
really it's
it's
not
a
that bad.
start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would add the physical environment, the weather, and maybe a little bit more detail about the the latex, the fog, the strobes, if you guys have
And
potential
I'll bring
exposure.
that up for when we do the actual forms and stuff. So I'll find
Yeah,
out about it.
We had
excellent.
some couple of questions from Nick. One was, what about quitting or firing format? I think an application legally, quitting and firing format. And
So go
um,
ahead.
and then another one was, I'll go ahead and I should ask, put both of them out there. And what about an actor or staff that wants to do just 1 or 2 nights? Is that a volunteer or hired staff? And do they still fill out the same forms as every other actor or staff who works the entire season?
Okay. Both all great questions. Let's talk about the first one about the firing. Most, I believe most states, and I'm speaking about the US, most states in the US are at will employment. And that is a fancy term of saying I can fire you for no reason or any reason. I don't have to even give you a reason. I can literally say, I'm sorry, your employment is terminated right now. Pack up your stuff. Uh, we will send your final check or whatever it is to the address on file. Now, again, you want to make sure what your state says as far as, is your state at will, or do you have to do some sort of formal documentation or anything like that? But in most cases, this is, I think most states are at will, and you do not, so it's not like you have a piece of paper. And if, again, if you're firing them, they're probably going to be angry anyways. So good luck getting them to sign something to begin with. I had to fire 2 actors last year, and I told them why, but and they deserved it. And so no, there is not a formal I have to fire someone this way that I've ever seen. But again, this is where you got to check with your state laws and just make sure. So just don't say, "Well, Dave told me I don't have to." You know? So I hope that answers that question. And then the other question was, remind me what the other one was. It was on,
If we have an actor that wants to work 1 or 2 nights,
oh,
is it the
okay.
same?
So let me give you an example. I got a chance to guest haunt at Lincoln Mill during East Coast Haunters. I had to fill out the same paperwork for a single day as if I was an employee because they were also paying me. You need whether they are there for a night or all 20 nights, they should fill out the same paperwork. I know that might be a pain, but you really need to legally cover yourself. So yes, make sure, and that would apply volunteer or employee. You need to make sure that paperwork is filled out. So I hope that answers that question.
I think so. So should we roll into Justin then, or are you done, David?
I'm done. I had one question. So do I need to have them sign in writing that they understand we can fire them? No, I have never seen where they need to understand this is at will employment. Um, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to put that in. I would probably put it in the job description, so in addition to, standing for 8 hours in latex and fog, you could put something in there. This is an at-will employment, and you could be dismissed at any time for any reason, sort of thing. I think, like, let's say corporate jobs typically have something like that. That's probably where I'd put it. Again, I'd look at what your state employment laws say, and whether you're at will or not. But at the end of the day, if you didn't have something like that, you're still perfectly within your rights to fire them, especially if you have a handbook and they have signed the handbook. And let's say they do something like their first night of employment, sexually harass one of your actors. Yes, totally within my rights to fire that person immediately. So that's the other thing. Have them sign all your policies. I agree. I will do this. I won't do that. And if you're looking for like leverage of why I can fire them immediately, that right there, I think that's kind of the paperwork you're probably looking for is they've signed and agreed to the actor's handbook that says you can or can't do this.
And if they've put the application out, which shouldn't have very much information on it, and then they sign the other forms after they get hired, and then the handbook, and they've signed probably more than once. It's kind of said the same thing more than once. So if they've signed it in the handbook, they sign this piece of paper that says this is the job description. So we just kind of
Correct. And
more
I
stuff you care cover
please
your
go
butt.
over your actor's handbook with them. I think mine is actually pretty voluminous. I want to say my actor handbook, because I've got everything in there, is probably 30 plus pages. No, I don't read the whole thing at training. What I do is I have the abbreviated 2 or 3 page version that I go over with them. Everyone gets a copy of it. So if they want to read it, they totally can, but everyone also signs it. But I do the abbreviated version during our orientation and actor training to make sure, because no one's going to read the 30 pages, but they're going to sign that they understood everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's stop sharing and turn it over to Justin.
Thanks, Dave. All good info. So yeah, I'm going to briefly talk through how you can use Sithon to go through some of these compliance requirements and make sure that you are not answering or asking the wrong questions at the wrong time. So let me find the share button. All right. Can we see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So if you are a Sithon user, if your hunt uses Sithon, you'll recognize this. This is the main page for your recruitment form. So like Dave said earlier, you typically want to have a job description and then a link to this at the bottom. Now you do have some space here where you can list a abbreviated job description here at the top before you get to the questions. But to be able to provide an adequate job description, you're typically going to want to just have that job description separate and then provide a link. And I do have quite a few of our customers do that. If you go to their website, you'll see become a monster, join our team. You click that page and there's a job description on that page. And at the very bottom, it says apply now. And that links you over to this page on Sithon. So one of the things that I want to touch on is when you are creating your recruitment form, you'll notice that we have a questionnaire tab here. So this first profile tab is just to collect basic contact information from the applicant. The second one is your questionnaire, where you can create custom questions. And this is where you have to be careful in some of the questions that you ask. And some of this depends on states, and that is where our compliance checker comes into play. So you can run the compliance checker against your custom questions, and it will tell you if you have any risky questions or if you should rephrase them or if you should move them to the staff portal and not have them on the public facing side, on the application side. So if I scroll down here, now I'm back on can you see the recruitment tab?
Yes.
Okay, I want to make sure that I'm sharing the right screen. So this is now from the manager side. You are creating your recruitment form. So you'll go to this recruitment page. You can set up all the details, your form title, description, instructions, etc. So when we get down here to the questionnaire, this is where we can go in here and we can start adding questions. So I'm going to add a basic question. I'll create something that Dave said is a no-no. Are you allergic to latex? So if I ask that question, and I'm going to make it required, if I say add, it immediately is flagging that and saying, hey, this is a potential high-risk question, and it's telling me why. I can choose to save and add this anyway. Sithon is not going to restrict you from being able to add a question, but you are taking on that risk if you decide to do it. So we try to develop the tools and an engine to help you create a compliance application for where you live, for your location. So it will give you tips like this. I can still save it anyway, or I can choose to edit that question. So once you have all of your questions here, and I'll just have a few demo questions, I can go over here and click on compliance check. And this is where it is going to look through all of these custom questions, and it's going to tell me if there's any risks. Now it's going to look at my country, and right now it supports the US and Canada. and it's going to look at my state or province. And it's going to look at all of those applicable hiring laws, and it's going to determine for each one of these questions, is there any risk? So here at the top, I see I'm in Kentucky, so it's telling me a little bit about Kentucky does not have any specific restrictions beyond federal laws. There are a lot of states right now, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, that does have more aggressive laws around state hiring. California is another one that will have more specific and typically more conservative laws around hiring than just at the federal level. So then it gives me a summary of, there is some risk around some of my questions, but down here at the per question review is where I can see per question the guidance that it's giving me. So positions I'm interested in, I see that as a low risk, and if I click on it, it's telling me why this is low risk, so it doesn't raise any significant concerns. So if I get down here, I see some are moderate. Do I have any highs? So it actually only flagged this one as moderate, and this probably should have been flagged as high. And that's something that we may go back and tune. So we see that this is being reviewed as a pre-hire because this is listed on the application. So it's saying that inquiring about latex allergies at the application stage may reveal medical information prematurely. So, and it gives me some recommendations as well. So one thing that I can do is, for example, this allergic to latex. I can go in here and I can say, okay, I'm going to ask this in the staff portal only. So now I can make this a post-application, post-hire question. So any questions that should not be presented initially on that application can be moved over to the staff portal. So when we were back over here and we look at the application, up at the top is the portal login. So once your staff are in the system, once you've hired them, they can go in here and they can log into their staff account, and then they can fill in any of those extra questions. They can upload their profile picture, they can add their date of birth, they can add any answers to your custom questions that you have said display on the staff portal only. Now, we do provide the ability, for example, on the profile, if you want to require a photo on the application, we will let you do it. We're going to tell you why you may want to reconsider, but we will let you do that because it is not explicitly illegal in all jurisdictions to ask for certain things. Same with date of birth. We've done a lot of research on date of birth, and at the federal level, it is not technically illegal. It depends on how it's being asked. And a lot of haunts in states where it's okay to ask date of birth, they want to go ahead and have that on the initial application. So again, we add a warning there to make sure that you understand the risk depending on where you live, but you do have the option to make it available, and you don't have to make it required. And I know Dave mentioned earlier that there can be a difference whether or not something is required versus if it's optional. So here on the profile, you can choose to make anything except for the name. You can make, and the PIN code, you can choose to say whether or not it's required or not. So these are just some of the tools that Sithon tries to incorporate to make this process easier when you're creating your application and starting to get your initial staff for the season. And I know, Dave, you've played around with the compliance checker quite a bit. It gave me a lot of good feedback, and I've implemented probably about half of it. We still have some additional suggestions to go through and some more tuning. I don't know if you want to add anything to
Sure.
what
Yeah,
I've
no, I appreciate it. And I think, yeah, so for a couple weeks, yes, I literally copied and pasted all of the worst questions possible into the application and gave Justin the results, and like it flagged this one, it missed this one. And so I really appreciate the partnership with me and Justin to give me the opportunity to give that sort of feedback. And look at how easy this is to see whether or not a question is risky in any sense. Whereas this has taken Justin all of 10 minutes to show you how easy it is to check your questions. It took me an hour to go over all of these things. And again, you still have to check it manually, via the state. Using Scython here, oh my gosh, how easy and quick is this going to be to get you probably 90% compliant or something like that. So I just want to say thanks again for partnering with me and letting me play with it and incorporating the feedback there. But yeah, I'm excited about this tool here. It's sorely needed.
Yeah, appreciate it. And like I said, we definitely appreciate the feedback and you stress testing it to make sure that all of those questions that you had come across were properly evaluated. And I'll just add one more pitch to the end. If anyone here on the call is interested in seeing a demo for Sithon, visit our website. It is sithon.io, and you can contact us and schedule a demo. We have some videos available. We have some on Hunter's Toolbox that Brian has uploaded, previous webinars that we've done. But if anyone is interested in more information, reach out and we will set you up with a demo.
And they can, for people that haven't used it, they can basically, the actors have access to the application. Do you have online handbook? I guess they can upload any kind of file we want to. They can, is that
You
just to
can.
give
Am
them a
I
little
still sharing my
context of
screen?
what's going on? Yeah.
Yeah, we can still
Okay,
see you.
cool. Yeah, so on the forms tab, you can upload PDFs. So any handbooks, any tax forms, things like that, you can upload, and you have the same option. Do you want that to be on the application side, or do you want it to only be available on the staff portal once the staff are hired?
And show us, Justin, for people that haven't seen Sithon, show us the dashboard so they kind of see what all Sithon does.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, for anyone that may not have been on the call initially, Sithon really covers everything around your actor and staff management. So it starts with recruiting, getting your new applicants, getting them onboarded and hired. We cover positions, so you add all your positions and then you can get them scheduled. Costume inventory, time tracking, communication, both email and text. We have a relatively new feature which is incidents tracking. So if you have an incident that occurs, you can go in and document exactly what happens. So you have that documentation. Awards tracking, we have an integration with Scarrett badges. So if you use Scarrett badges, you can quickly add those from the awards page and keep track of who is in the running for awards. So we're really meant to be an all-in-one platform for all of the tools that haunts typically need around managing and scheduling and communicating with their actors. So it's all in one place. You don't have to have actors download this or go to this website and Facebook Messenger for communication, or some of them are text. And it also, on the communication side, lets you use one phone number. So you have a dedicated staff line. You can freely give that out to your actors and staff instead of your personal cell phone number, so everyone's not texting you. And you can see those text message responses and reply from within Sithon. So you can see an example here of what that would look like. And all of the managers can reply to the same messages. So I can see here which manager responded to this particular actor.
Everything in one spot.
That's the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Try to make it easy. Back when I first started as an actor manager in, I guess it was 2011, we were using old school punch card time tracking. And, we would have to manually calculate that at the end of every weekend. We were using Facebook Messenger for communication, and then email for longer stuff, text messaging. So there was really just a lot of different tools. Scheduling was kind of on a whiteboard, kind of on paper. So there really wasn't any sort of an organized system that was available. So this was really born from that need and has evolved over the years as we have continuously grown and added customers that have given us feedback over the years.
I know George uses it. I don't know if he's still in the comments or not, but I know there's several people that on the last one were using the platform and really loving it. So
yeah, it's always good to see customers on calls like this. But we've grown every year. We're always adding new features and new things, and all of that typically comes from customer requests.
okay, well, guys, we're getting close to our time now. If you have any questions, you're out there watching, type in your questions in the comments box on Facebook. David and Justin's, are there any other questions or comments that you want to add, or if there's
Sure. So I can kind of wrap it up here. So I know you just posted it back in the chat there. So yes, please, um, if you haven't already, take my haunted attraction industry safety survey. The link is in the chat there as well. I just crossed the 160 response mark. That is fantastic. And again, it's 100% anonymous. I'm just trying to get some data and then some action items on how we can make just being a haunter safer. I did a presentation at Midwest, and it was when things go wrong. You know, how do we deal with when a guest hits you or verbally abuses you, or when actors misbehave? And starting to have some of this data, I think, is really going to make a difference in hopefully making our homes safer. And then obviously I do fearschool.com. So if you're interested in having me come train your actors and or managers, you can just go to my website and contact me there. And I would love to travel to your haunt and work with you and train your staff. And I appreciate Brian and Daryl, you guys, for hosting this. I think this is something that I wanted to present for a while, and I appreciate all your efforts and your platform and Justin's partnership as well too.
Yeah, likewise. And Brian and Daryl, definitely happy to be on the platform again. I think it's a great tool that you all have, and obviously a big audience.
Yeah, it's always good to put little, things that I didn't know these things. I've been doing it wrong for a long time. So, it's like, hey, it's time to change. I mean, it's simple stuff too. It's just move this from this form and do it out to this form. Just don't ask.
Yeah,
You
I'll
know,
say about the same thing for me. I've learned a lot of the stuff in the last year. We have quite a few haunts in Pennsylvania, and they've had some newer laws enacted recently, and they've reached out saying, "Hey, we have all of these new requirements and new compliance things that we have to follow." So we've started doing research and trying to add things to help them out with that process. So a lot of it has been a learning experience for us as well.
We do
Justin,
have
I wanted to, yeah, there's one comment for Justin. I'm sorry. Thanks, Daryl. I
yeah.
wasn't sure if anyone saw it.
Yeah. Nicholas is asking, can you design the entire haunt with your room design tool or just one room at a time?
Good question. So we do have the attraction studio, which does allow you could do an entire attraction. There's a pretty large limit. So I have seen entire attractions built with it, but you can determine how you break it out. So if you want to create it by scene and then build each of those individually, or if you want to do a larger attraction and build it all in one plan, you can do that.
do you have free trials or
We do. Yeah, that's a great question. So we have a 30-day free trial. So if you visit our website at Sithon, Sithon.io, and click on the Get Started link, you can sign up. It takes 2 or 3 minutes, and then you have a 30-day free trial, and everything is included in the trial except for the dedicated staff line. You can enable that once you sign up for a subscription, but that gives you the ability to play around with it and see if it fits the needs of your haunt and ask any questions. We have a support email that's always available. So if you have questions, you can shoot us an email. We can always jump on a call or do a live demo, and kind of gives you 30 days to try it out, see if it'll work for you, and get it all set up.
okay, so why aren't you signed up yet? Come on.
Exactly. If you're not, you should.
That's right. Well, thank everybody for your time. Good topic all around. I know, many people think HR is boring, which a lot of it is. A lot of it's paperwork, but what an ounce of prevention,
Correct.
So, um, and it made like the big thing, the medical thing. What I would feel terrible if I didn't have this paperwork filled out and one of my actors was in pain and we couldn't treat him because we couldn't get a hold of his mom. So it's like something that a lot of people don't think about because they're thinking about set design and numbers and locations and insurance. What are we doing? And then, so if anything, find somebody. If you can't do this, find somebody that would help you do this stuff, whether they're in your haunt or they're some. I always ask for when I after I hire people, what other kind of skills do you have? Or find out they start showing you the skills that they have, and you start placing people in different positions. I know at first year is going to be kind of crazy because you don't know a lot about the people that you're working with unless their family or that you worked with them before, you trust them, stuff like that. So, um, first year is always the hardest to get all this stuff in the right way and planned out. Um, so, but go back, watch this video. It'll be a podcast too. Listen to the video, listen to the podcast and take notes and just plan it and do it. But
Sounds great.
yeah. Daryl, any last comments? And
Nothing for me. I think we've got everything, and we've got all of the comments from our chats. So again, thank you very much, David and Justin, for coming on tonight, giving us, again, maybe not the most interesting of topics, but definitely worthwhile to know. And I learned some things myself. So
Glad to hear that. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it, Daryl.
thanks everyone. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for the knowledge. Well, our next one, before we sign off, let me pull this up. Our next one is going to be with Matt Scott. He's going to talk about budget haunting. So trying to get your attraction started cheaply and what you can do to save some money. That's going to be July 7th, about the same time. So stay tuned to Toolbox for that. Hunter's Toolbox on Facebook. We'll announce it there. This one will be pinned to the top for about, well, and we'll take this one down when we do the other one. So about a month, that'll be pinned to the top. So go check it out. If you listen to the podcast, go check out the video on Hunter's Toolbox on Facebook. So, all right, guys, appreciate it. Signing off from Missouri.
Thanks, everyone.
signing off from Canada.
There you go.
And from Jersey.
Jersey.
And from Kentucky.
Kentucky. All over the place. All right, guys. Have a good evening.
Take care.
See you, everyone.
See ya. Bye.
This podcast episode sponsored by Scarlet Badges. Get your Scare Badges at scarebadges.com. Also sponsored by Hunter's Toolbox. Take your haunt to the next level at hunterstoolbox.com. Thank you for listening to Haunt Topic Radio. Please leave a comment wherever you found this podcast. Each comment you leave will help spread the word to other haunters around the world. See you next time.